Dana Boyd once said, "Social media is not just an activity. It governs how people interact with each other and shapes their perceptions of reality." If you have a teenager, you've likely felt some level of frustration and maybe even concern about their use of social media and the time that they spend in front of a screen. If you've explored the digital space, you might be disturbed or even horrified by the content that exists there. The birth of social media brought with it lofty ideals and goals. One CEO said, "Our mission is to make the world more open and connected. We do this by giving people the power to share whatever they want and to be connected to whomever they want, no matter where they are." That was Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. As parents and educators, that might give us cause for concern. Do I want my child exposed to anything and anyone? When we think about young people in a digital world, especially boys, it's important to remember a few things. Firstly, boys are naturally very curious, but they're not always keen to ask questions or ask for help. Their desire for independence can occasionally lead them down some precarious pathways. Secondly, despite their intense need for autonomy, they also have a deep-seated need to feel a sense of belonging, which peer groups or other sources can fulfill. Many of us might be asking, why do our young men spend so much time in front of a screen? Why do social media and gaming occupy so many of their waking hours? Or maybe, how harmful could this possibly be? As we often tell the boys, the biggest challenge is that we don't know what we don't know. Some problems associated with spending a lot of time online include an inactive, sedentary lifestyle, excessive amounts of time staring at blue screens full of relatively meaningless content, altered sleep habits, not to mention the exposure to negative, inappropriate content, messaging, and imagery, and of course, there's also the issue of cyberbullying. We could dive into questions like, why isn't this more regulated? Why aren't they as interested in other activities, and so on? And while these are good questions, we might be missing one that's less obvious, but potentially far more important. Our friend Jonathan Reed from Next Gen Men recently offered this idea in a magazine article. He said, "We're focused on what these platforms allow when we should be asking instead what boys need. What are they looking for that might push them into the digital world and potentially toward more concerning parts of cyberspace?" Part of that answer has to do with algorithms that target content based on searches, likes, dwell time on certain posts. Then there's the attention economy, which marketers recognize as a valuable and very limited commodity. And so they use neurologists and psychologists to design apps and platforms intended to capture and monetize our attention. You stay on longer, click more, they get more data and sell more product. For anyone who hasn't watched 2020's The Social Dilemma, I highly recommend it. Social media content also can rely on outright manipulation of young minds to achieve its goals, which could be gaining followers, spreading misinformation, or selling product. But again, it's important to ask, what do boys need? Or what are they missing that they hope to find in the digital world? After so many years in boys' education, we know that young men have a deep need for relational connection. While they might not know it themselves, and they're highly likely to express it to anyone else, boys want authentic engagement. They want to feel a sense of belonging, support, validation, self-worth, and self-efficacy. Where can they experience these things? Where will they look for that sense of affirmation? Experts have suggested that if they can't find them in healthy spaces, they won't stop looking, and they might turn to less healthy spaces for validation and belonging. So, what do we as parents and educators do? It's important to show a willingness to engage in open and honest dialogue about devices, screen time, and online content. We need to create a safe space to discuss these topics. As adults, we need to explore the social and technological forces that impact young people. Dr. John Body suggests that we adults need to be clear-eyed about the obstacles that our increasingly digitized world can create on a young person's journey. What else can we do? Well, put away devices at set times of the day. Don't allow screen time in private places. Actively make time for conversations. Ask them what they're consuming and why they find it so appealing, and do so in a judgment-free way. Remember that taking away technology is not a solution, at least not in the long run. Teaching them to use it appropriately and to be critical consumers of content are the best strategies. For those of you who have ever had the joy and paranoia of having a teenage driver in the house, it's a lot like learning to drive a car. We don't just throw them the keys and say, "Have fun, don't do anything criminal." It's a slow process of supported learning, a lot of talking and teaching, and a gradual release of responsibility. A few other thoughts from Dr. Body. Be aware of their online and in-person worlds. Be genuinely curious about their experiences and questions. Be gently but insistently present for them. Most importantly, remember that they need connection. And this might take more vigilance, persistence, and availability than our parents needed for us. As they grow into young men, our boys want to know that they matter, that they belong, and that they're valued. They want to feel that authentic connection to the world around them and the people in it. But they're also unlikely to say these things, so we have to listen differently and observe. Above all, we have to be the ones to initiate the conversation and be open to those moments when they have let their autonomy guard down and let us in. We want our boys to be good men, to have a strong sense of values and moral purpose. Ideally, those values will be inspired and modeled by their families, friends, and school, rather than the everyone and anyone in the digital world. Thank you for entrusting your sons to us. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to be on this journey with you. It truly takes a village, and we're proud to be a part of yours.